So what did you do last weekend? I, for one, spent my time creating 100 designs of 100 VTubers in 100 minutes. If you're new here, hi, I'm Thorn, and I actually studied graphic design for a year until I realized graphic design was in fact not my passion.
Graphic design is my passion indeed.
And a lot of it was hands-on anyways, and if we did use Adobe, it was usually Illustrator or InDesign. But in this video, I'll be using Photoshop despite knowing next to nothing about it, because this video was inspired by Elliot's Is a Cool Guy's video. I made 100 designs in 100 minutes, and he used Photoshop. And when I do design related stuff like creating thumbnails, I typically use Canva, so I've had no real need to use Adobe. Thankfully, my school hasn't kicked me out of their Adobe program yet, so even if I never touch Photoshop ever again after this, it does no harm to my wallet. Also, I really like the idea of doing it for a minute because if the design ends up sucking, I can just blame it on the time constraint instead of my lack of ability. To spice things up a bit, I decided to use a random number generator when choosing which VTuber to draw next, instead of just doing it in order. To not put myself at too much of a disadvantage, and also so I don't make every graphic designer around the world scream in fear as I inefficiently execute my designs, I did design what I call my patient zero, if you will, just to try to familiarize myself with Adobe Photoshop, and also by watching a bunch of Elliot's design videos. I also did allow myself to pick out some color swatches related to each VTuber's design beforehand. That way I'm not spending 40 seconds trying to color match. For a timer, I just used my handy dandy phone. I decided to pick the lovely tune of Playtime, and much like my alarm clock, I began to hate more and more as time went on. Before I began, I felt pretty confident in my ability to generate ideas out of thin air, especially since I had a VTuber to use as inspiration. So I had like the opposite problem of Elliot. When he did his design challenge, he said he had a lot of experience but no ideas that day. I, on the other hand, have a lot of ideas but barely any experience. So will those ideas actually translate onto the page? Find out next week on Dragon Ball Z. Sorry, I had to do it. 23 Sykkuno. Oh, I spelled that so wrong. I'm so sorry. Sykkuno. Oh, so much pressure. Wait, how does this intro go? What is up, guys? It's Sykkuno here. Starting off with Sykkuno, which I think was a great start. And I quickly came to the realization how little time is truly in a minute. And another realization that I came to was probably the fact that I should have picked out some fonts to use beforehand. So if you see the same font a couple of times in a row, you know why. So here are my first 10 designs. The second design I was actually really happy about. I saw that Daca had a bird as his emoji, so that was sort of my inspiration. With a little bit of refining, I feel like it could be an actual good logo design. Third design looks like a Mickey Mouse gone wrong, and I was still getting used to using the shape tool. Design 7 I really love. I don't know, it looks really cool to me, from the shapes to the colors and how they all just blend together. Design number 8, I like how the small text paired with the two lines intersecting almost remind me of the top of a present, like a Christmas present or a birthday present, or just any kind of present really. Design number 9 was inspired by those trick questions where it's it says the color's red but the actual color of the text is blue. For the first 10, I think I really try to play around with the shapes and colors, just mixing and matching them. I also wanted each design to feel unique from one another. I noticed I often pulled from either the catchphrases the VTuber says or from their model design, and other times I just went with whatever came to mind at that time. That was a lot more rhyming than I intended. For Luca's design, I could not see myself not including the word pog, but I did go through a bit of a hiccup trying to write the letters. Ugh, come on. That scared me. It's supposed to be a G. You know what? That's art. Oh, it's shot. Oh god, that was so scary. You know what? We're gonna say it's an upside down G. Oops. Wait, doesn't mysta say like kon in it? Isn't it supposed to be like the same as like konnichiwa, but like mysta version? Kon in it. Number 14 was not exactly the best telltale sign of how my motivation for this challenge was slowly waning. Number 12 I thought looked really, really cool, and it was really fun to play around with the distortion tool. When I saw Anna's name pop up for number 17, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Probably one of the fastest designs I'd done in this challenge. Number 19 was actually on accident, but it looked a lot better to have the panda taper off into the abyss of purpleness. The third batch of designs actually have some of my most favorite designs, and honestly I was worried that this might be the peak of my creativity. Not we, but G I thought was pretty clever, and I was able to find a font that's pretty close to the Wii font, and I hope that people would notice the little trademark at the end, followed by just kidding, in case Nintendo wants to come for me. Honestly, throughout this process, I felt like once I saw a VTuber's name, I just went with whatever word first came to my mind. Sometimes it really worked in my favor, other times it did not. But for my third batch of designs, I was feeling pretty good, you know? Batch 4 has probably my favorite overall color scheme, with mainly softer and more muted colors. I became a really big fan of making one of the words a different color than the rest, you know, to spice things up. I thought my design for Iris was pretty neat. If you don't know, Iris is like catchphrase, I guess you could say. It's usually, oh, hi-ris, bye-ris. And I decided to take the creative liberty of adding design-ris, you know. I think things usually come best in threes. So, hi-ris, bye-ris, design-ris. Gura's design reminded me of Waves with her signature ah at the center of the page. And Aqua's design reminded me of like the start of a magical girl's transformation sequence. Like, I feel like if you've seen enough of them, you know what I mean. Especially because the thing in the middle looks like an egg. And if you ever seen the anime Shogochara, I think it's pronounced, with the eggs, that's what it reminded me of. Luna's design was inspired by her iconic Googleoo clip. Also around this time, I began to play around with the perspective tool a bit, which was really nice. For Karan's design, I debated doing either Yubi or Have Confidence, something I was in desperate need of. Batch 5 is a bit of a chaotic mess, but it's my chaotic mess, so I like it. As the old saying goes, when in doubt, pick up the pen tool, which soon became my crutch when I could think of nothing else. Unnamed was probably one of my more simple yet clever designs I made. I was surprised I thought about it enough in time to do it. Mana's color scheme is so freaking pretty that I could shed a tear. Ali, my Oshi, I hope you're proud of this design I made just for you. Calliope was probably the best way to end this chaotic bunch, or this chaotic batch of designs, despite being one of the calmest, I would say. I think because of the color scheme. I did think about trying to make a design in the shape of a Red Bull, until I remembered I only have a minute and I'm not that skilled at Photoshop. Next up we have Amelie, and all I can think about is that one YouTube short where she's like the Kermit Queen. So that might serve as some inspiration for this next piece. We'll see.
It's Monarch, breaker of chains, mama of dogs. All hail the Kirby Queen. I will now tell you the new rules of the kingdom. They are the following. Bark, bark, woof, 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 bark, 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 woof. Did everybody get that? Did everybody understand? Please rise for our national anthem. More you.
People often say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I would say the same, except under a 1-minute time constraint. Then words can be just as much as pictures. Crony's design would be the second clock design thus far. I wonder if my brain was trying to send me a message. I decided to throw my design into the mix because why not? But it did feel good to be finally past the halfway mark. Batch 7 was the return of my drawing arc. Also brought along some of the most colorful designs yet, and felt like I was really getting my second wind. I feel really happy looking back at the designs during this time. Time really flies by when you're having fun. And sometimes during that time when you're so focused on the design, some mistakes might slip through the cracks. Okay, got it. Wait, it's supposed to be the first A. Oh my goodness. It's supposed to be the first A. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I don't know why I went for the second A. It just felt right. If someone asked me what my favorite batch is, it'd probably be this one. Lucky number 7. It felt like a combination of everything I've learned so far, from using some fun fonts to distorting shapes to really bringing to light how it feels to draw with the mouse. Safe to say, I felt satisfied with these designs. Batch 8 had a lot of VTubers I watch on the regular, which made it easier to think of ideas. Whether it was the phrases they say or things associated with that particular VTuber, Design 74 meant a lot to me because Kusuri was actually the VTuber that made me want to create my VTuber design video, and I find her design really cute. I do think some of the designs in this batch can be defined as head empty because sometimes when designing, your head truly draws a blank on what to do. But it was fun getting to play around with a lot more colors during this batch. Number 9, batch number 9. I was really fond of where I would put like a word and have like some kind of like shape under it, which was quite fun to do. Other times I would forgo the words and just have the shapes by themselves. The last 3 are all in blue, which made me really happy to have some type of color consistency, and also meant I was nearing the end of this challenge. 86 is probably one of my favorite designs. From the shape to the colors, it just all works perfectly. My mind began to go into a frenzy, as with each design I began nearing closer and closer to the end. We see the appearance of the pen tool emerging once again, and while I want to say it's because I wanted to tap into my more artistic side, we all know that's a lie. My mind was drawing a blank, guys, okay? But I still got some treasures out of this, like the beloved tic-tac-toe board and the inspirational phrases such as beep boop beep and pew pew. Finally, we have number 100 with the lore cat himself, Raelice. There we have it, people. The final 10 designs of this challenge. All in all, I would say this was an enjoyable experience. Would I ever do this again? Probably not for my own sanity. Probably should have listened to Elliot's warning.
But I did it. I did. I'm never doing it again. And I would never recommend it.
But it did make me miss designing a bunch. So who knows, maybe you'll see me do more design related content in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm Thorn, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye bye.